So I recently found this rusty cast iron pan at the thrift store, and I immediately knew I had to try to save it. And today I'm going to show you how to do that with some items you might have around your house. The goal is to not only get the pan clean and remove all the rust, but we want to make sure that it's properly seasoned so I can easily fry an egg. So let's get started. The first step is to remove all the rust from the surface of the pan. Now, if you do a quick search on the internet, you'll find a variety of ways to do this, and many of them work, but for me, what I've found that works the best is just a simple potato and some salt. And one thing to note when it comes to picking the potato you're gonna use for this, I like to pick kind of a larger one because we're gonna grab onto it to kind of scrub out the pan, and then we're just gonna cut it in half. So next we're gonna grab some coarse kosher salt. That is quite a tongue twister. We're gonna add this to the pan here. What I love about this process is it's relatively simple. Just add the salt in there, and then we're gonna take the half of the potato that we have, and we're just gonna start scrubbing around the pan. Ever since my grandma showed this to me many years ago, it's just stuck in my brain because simply just two things, start scrubbing, and it does an amazing job to remove the rust. Now you'll notice as you start scrubbing with the potato that you kind of make a paste with the salt, with kind of the potato juice, if you will. But that's really cool because potatoes have something called oxalic acid in them, and this does an amazing job to remove rust. After a little bit of scrubbing here, the salt will turn into kind of a sand brown color. That means that it's working, it's a good sign, but I just like to remove it from the pan, add a new batch of salt, and scrub again. Now cleaning the sides with this can be a little bit of a challenge. I kind of just like to work it up on the side, get it under the potato, just make sure to get those nice and scrubbed up. You pretty much want to scrub every square inch of the pan because you don't want any rust to be left behind before we season it. So make sure to grab the handle here. And in a moment here, once the inside is nice and scrubbed up, we're gonna flip it around and do the bottom. Again, russet potatoes I feel are better because you can get a good grip on this bad boy opposed to a smaller potato. And actually, I don't know, maybe these have more oxalic acid? Do the other ones have? I'm not a spud boy. I don't know all these facts about potatoes other than they taste pretty good. Joking. Now, depending on how dirty your pan is, sometimes you can just reuse some of the salt. Just drop a little bit on the center here. Usually don't need too much for the backside. And just grab the potato again, just work that all in. So as you can see, there was a ton of rust kind of over here. Just a quick scrub with the potato. I'm just gonna show you quickly with a cloth here. Wipe this away. Rust is completely gone there. We're gonna give this a good rinse in just a second, but I'm just gonna make sure to scrub all the edges. Again, the goal here is to remove all the rust before we do any seasoning. So it's official, I definitely made quite the mess scrubbing this pan, but I'm really happy with where it's at. So let's go give it a rinse. To get the seasoning process started, the first thing we need to do is just preheat our oven to 450. Sometimes you might have some stubborn rust that just won't go away, whether it's on the bottom or the inside of the pan, and the salt and potato just aren't cutting it. So for that, I'll just grab a steel scour daddy here. This is essentially just steel wool. Give the entire pan a quick scrub, and that should get rid of anything that's remaining. So now that everything is nice and rinsed, I'm just gonna take a towel, or you can use some paper towel, just give it a quick dry. We don't want to leave any moisture on the surface of the pan here. Now you might get some black and kind of some nastiness on your towel. That's totally normal. That will go away here once it's all nice and seasoned. But we're gonna get it dry, and then we're actually going to come over here and we're gonna put this in the preheated oven just to dry out completely before we put any oil on there. Again, just kind of get all the excess moisture off here like I did, but just throwing it in the oven here quick, even while the oven's preheating, is gonna make sure that it dries out so it's ready to be seasoned. After about 5 minutes, I can already tell the pan is nice and dry here. Just be extremely careful. It's heavy and obviously it's very hot. So we're gonna put this on a baking sheet to kind of cool down. Make sure to wear some good oven gloves, otherwise you might get burnt. Just don't want you to get hurt. Now we're gonna let this cool down for about 5 minutes, and then we're gonna start the oiling process. Now once your pan is nice and dry and cooled down a bit, it's time to start the seasoning process. And the first thing you gotta do is select the right oil. Now you want an oil that has a high smoke point. For this, I love to use avocado oil. The goal here is just to apply some of the oil to the pan. You wanna apply enough that is going to be able to cover everything. Then we're gonna take a just piece of paper toweling here, just work it around the entire area. Again, we wanna make sure every square inch is covered with oil. That includes all the handles and things as well. But then once we kind of feel like everything is nice and coated, we do wanna come through with a dry, clean paper towel and just get any excess oil off of the actual surface as well, because we don't want this to drip or cause any sort of just running or seepage. So now we're gonna flip it over here as well. And make sure to do the underside. The goal here is full coverage with the oil. You don't want to leave any dry spots, because if that doesn't get the oil and get properly seasoned, rust can start to develop again. So make sure you cover every crack, crevice, and area on the pan. Everything is now covered in the oil, but I like to come through and just grab a clean, dry piece of paper towel, give everything just a quick wipe down, get any remaining excess oil that might be on the surface, because we don't want this dripping while it's in the oven. Now, before we put the pan in the oven, quick pro tip, I like to always just take a baking sheet, put it below there, just in case anything does drip, that will catch it there. Again, hopefully you have wiped off all the excess oil by this point, so you shouldn't have that issue. And we're just gonna slide it in upside down like so, and we're gonna let this do its thing for 30 minutes. I recommend doing this seasoning process about 3 to 5 times if possible. That's where you're really gonna get a great nonstick coating on the pan. For instance, this one I did last year. I'm pretty sure I did this 3 times, and it's been amazing to cook on. Everything just slides off of it, and it's super easy to clean. So now that the 30 minutes is up, we're just gonna very carefully pull out the pan and set it on the drying rack here. We're gonna let this cool down for a little bit. We do not wanna add another layer of oil while it's this hot, because it will smoke and cause some damage. So we're gonna let it cool down, then repeat the process of applying the oil, wiping out the excess, and putting it back in the oven. Why do I still have these on? So the seasoning process is over, and as you can see, this thing looks amazing, especially considering where we started with it when it was all rusty. This thing looks almost brand new. And for $7.99 and a few potatoes, some salt, and some oil, I think that was a pretty good deal, and I'm gonna have this in my kitchen for many, many years to come. Now, I did end up seasoning this about 5 times. I think that's gonna be great for a good nonstick coating. But now for the moment of truth, let's fry an egg. There you have it, a cooked egg. I am no Gordon Ramsay. There's a reason I'm a cleaner over a cook, but this worked out great. Thanks so much for watching. I want to give a huge shout out to the Patreon members. If you want to learn more about that, check the link down in the description below, and I'll see you on the next clean.